Okay, so for this coding example, we are going to go over a program called NumberSum, and it's basically we're gonna sum users' numbers until they hit Q for quit, at which point we're going to display their sum. So they have some examples here. If they entered 5, then 12, then 18, display the sum 35. And then if they do 5, 6, -5, -2, add all those up, it should be 4. Okay, and so this uses a little bit of code that we um, haven't talked about at all yet, but I'm going to kind of walk you through it. So if you want to, open up Eclipse or whatever editor you're using and get a new main on a program called NumberSum, we'll kind of build it together. If you feel like you can do this, you go for it. You have to use something called like has next int in the scanner, or has next double. So that's the part that's a little bit tricky. But if you know how to do that, it'd be great. You could try it on your own. At any rate, feel free to pause the video at any point you feel like you can do this. Go for it on your own. I think that'll be more meaningful, but I'm going to kind of sketch some of it out here for you to start. So one of the tricky things is we actually need two variables here. One that keeps track of the sum and one that is like the user's input, like whatever they're entering. All right, and sort of the idea is that the sum will start off as 0, right? We haven't summed anything. And then the input variable will be whatever they type in. So like this first time it would be 5 or something in this first example, right? And then we need to take that input and add it to the sum, right? So basically we're going to add it to the sum. And then input's going to change. Input will now be 12 or whatever they type the second time. We're going to add that to the sum. So sum is like a running total of their sum currently. Okay, and then we go through maybe the loop one more time. And now the user's going to enter 18. Okay, at which point then we're going to update the sum. So add that 18 to the existing sum, 35, and then now they're going to finally type quit. So now we're just going to spit out and print out that sum. Right, so that's sort of the idea. And kind of one of the key lines of code is we'd have to have sum is equal to whatever the sum was before plus the input variable. So that's kind of the key line, is we're going to change input in our scanner while they haven't chose to quit, and then we're going to update the sum. Okay, so let's get after this. So here's my NumberSum program. I've got the scanner already created. All right, and oftentimes while loops, I struggle with like, how do I even start them, right? And so, that's kind of tricky. Sometimes I'll have like the code run once on the outside of the loop, then the loop enters if the condition is met, and then it just does the same code over. And it's a little goofy because you end up with like the same code twice. But yeah, I don't know. So basically I'm just gonna start like with the very basics of it. So I'm gonna let's do it with doubles actually. So I'm gonna have my sum variable, which we talked about already, be 0. Okay, and then I'm gonna make another double called the input, and I'm gonna have that also be -1 or 0 or something to start with. Okay, and so what I really want to do is prompt the user and say like, please enter a number for the sum. Okay, and then I want to scan that. So I'm going to have input become whatever they type in. So that would be scan next double. Okay, and maybe pause the video, see if you can figure out what line would make sense next. Okay, so sum would be whatever sum was before plus the input. All right, and basically this is the code we want to repeat over and over and over. Have them enter a number, scan it, and then add that to the sum. So I'm just going to type while, and I'm not going to worry about the condition yet. And then I'm going to move all these over. All right, and then once that's done, I don't know, see if you can figure out what would go here. Like once we're done running this while loop, any ideas what we'd want to do at the end? I would pause the video. Okay, so hopefully you figure out that we want to print out the sum. And we could maybe even do a nice little message. Sum is plus sum, right? So when it's done, we want to print out what the sum is. Okay, and the condition here is a little bit goofy. It's actually while the scanner, there's something called has next double or has next int or whatever. So basically it says while the scanner has a double on it, keep doing this. Okay, and so what happens is as soon as they type something that isn't a double, this will break and then it'll go down and print the sum. Okay, so that's a little goofy and we haven't done this yet, but that's a kind of a neat trick. It's called has next double. So we watch this in action, all right? And so you can kind of see actually when I hit run, nothing happens. It's frustrating. Could be an infinite loop, possibly. But I think what's really happening, maybe, is that it's like this scanner is looking for something, like it's hanging on this line, but I don't have my input box up, right? There's no that window where I enter stuff. Okay, so that's where I get to what I was trying to say before. Sometimes I run the code once first outside the loop. So I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this out here. Please enter a number for the sum. Okay, and then I don't know if I need this. So let's get rid of the scan line because we can do that in the loop. But this will at least pop up the dialog window where they can start to enter stuff. And I don't want to type it in here twice. Okay, so I'm just going to run it one time once now and see if it'll look good for the first time. So it is going to pop it up. And if I enter a double, that should be okay, right? Except I think it read it. So it scanned it here and added it, but it didn't prompt him again because this prompt isn't part of the while loop. So I think this will work sort of if I type some numbers and then I type quit or something, then it does actually work. So it's running this code over and over, it just doesn't have the prompt the second time. All right, so let's maybe add the prompt, but I don't want it to show up twice, so I'm going to put it here. Please enter a number, another number. Okay, and so it'll run this print, do the scan, add it to the sum, say please enter another number, or Q to quit. Okay, so I think that'll work because the last time we're gonna run through, they'll have entered a double, it'll scan it, say it's 15, add it to the sum, it'll prompt them again, but then if they type quit, right, it'll come back up here and it will fail because the next double won't, won't be a double. So let's see if this works. So please enter another number, 3.5, 1.0, and then honestly, if you type anything except a number, it'll spit out the sum. Okay, so it seems to be working good, and I kind of babbled my way through that, but that is one of the tricky parts, is trying to figure out like like what do you want to put on the outside of the loop, right? Because generally, like I don't want to duplicate code too much, but I definitely need a print here to get us started so that they know to enter something, right? And then I just run this code over and over. And what ended up being weird here is this print, it seems like out of order. It seems like I've scanned, add to the sum, and then I prompt them. But because I have a prompt here first to make it like run smooth or run like kind of in the right order, I prompt, scan, add, then prompt again, and then come back and do that again if they enter something besides Q to quit. So that is it for the number sum. It's kind of a cool trick. It's has next double, but it's another good example of while. Keep going while they're typing in numbers. And then once they're done with that, we spit the sum out at the end. All right, that is it. Thank you for watching.